Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing on the channel at the moment, how about giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to the channel to help us grow, and perhaps consider checking us out on Patreon and supporting us there. This was 7 o'clock in the morning on the 18th of March, the beginning of Statfold Barn's Enthusiast Day, and your eyes don't deceive you, that is me hard at work on my steed for the day. This is Saccharine, a fowler built in 1914 with a works number 13355, and I today was the cleaner, and as the name might suggest, this involves helping to make sure the locomotive is clean and presentable, and I was starting off by trying to polish up the whistle and the safety valves to make sure they were nice and shiny. But it wasn't just me working on locomotives, no, there was a veritable army working on a whole host of different locomotives. One of the best things about the Statfold Barn Railway is the sheer variety of locomotives that they can put out at an event like this. One would be forgiven for assuming that a cleaner's primary role is to make a locomotive spotless, and whilst this is an important part of the job, originally it was all about cleaning the motion to remove grime, dirt and other abrasive particles to extend its life, and in doing so getting to learn what all the components were. It was an important part of the journey. Today, the cleaning is also a sign of pride in our heritage, pride in these machines and making them the very best for the public to enjoy, no matter what the weather was. And aside from the cleaning, there was the usual prep and the building of fires, getting the iron dinosaurs ready for their day's service. And once all of this was said and done, there was still plenty of time to stand and have a chat and just enjoy these machines, or give them another polish. Meanwhile, I clambered down and had started working on more of the brass. And then, as my driver busied himself preparing and checking the motion, I was given the shovel and told to get on with it. Bringing a locomotive round is a slow affair. One doesn't want to put too much fire in and risk thermal shocking the firebox and the boiler and causing damage to the locomotive. Equally, one needs to make sure the locomotive is ready for the first strain. Trying to balance these two requirements is something of an art form and part of becoming a fireman. And I was overjoyed to be on the shovel again, and satisfied I could stand back and admire my handiwork and enjoy being on a steam locomotive.
So we've been here for over an hour now. It started to rain, it's just gone again. Still got a couple hours I think until most of the public turn up, but Lawrie's starting to meet people that know or that know him from online. Keeping the cameras dry and sufficiently charged in this cold, little temperamental problem, but I think we can work through it. It's been a fun day, I think.
As my cameraman Ben mentioned, the first of the public had started to arrive, and they were followed by the volunteers who hadn't had to prep a steam locomotive first thing this morning, although everybody got to see me on the way in. With the morning marching past, it was now time for the briefing, where everybody involved in the operation of the railway got together to be told how the day would unfold, to make sure that everybody understood and there was no confusion on how things would unfold. It's a vital part of the day, and a chance to see the faces of your fellow volunteers, the people who come together to operate a day like this. And with the briefing finished, it was time for the final preparations, and we could start getting the locomotives out and onto their trains. And even as the weather took a slightly less pleasant turn, the volunteers still had to go about their duties to make sure that everything was ready for the day to commence, seeing the locomotives onto the trains, making sure everything was safe and ready to operate. And as the first train started to move off, more locomotives were free to leave the shed. There were quite a few different pairings today, but my favourite was that of Marshall and Ogwyn. Seeing the twins together in their Penryn livery was something really special. And with them out of the way, the last locomotives could come off shed. Putting on an event like this requires more than just the manpower of volunteers at Statfold alone, and we had some of the police cadets in attendance here to be able to do crowd control and to help man some of our crossings. As the locomotives continued to marshal themselves ready for their trains, I too was getting ready for the off, building up my fire to make sure we had adequate steam to make a return trip along the line. We don't really fire on the run here at Statfold. The locomotives aren't fitted with brick arches, so it was a matter of building up a good fire that would produce adequate steam for the duration of our trip. Knowing how much coal to put on depends very much on the engine, the type of coal that you're burning, and how far you need to go. All of this comes down to experience. And as I hadn't been on this engine before, well, I was making it up as I went along. Below me on the low-level railway, the last train was being marshalled into the platform. This station worked on a one-in, one-out principle. As soon as one train arrived, the other one would be dispatched. And as this was now coming into the platform, that meant it was time for another departure. There were a variety of different trains out, including the demonstration freight. And with that clear of the running line, another departure could take place and another train set off on its journey. And we, on the high level, followed suit. Turns out that Saccharine has a very loud and shrill whistle. My job now was to control the fire, to make sure it was still burning nice and hot for when we would need the steam on the uphill journey without actually having to open the door and get in there. That meant I was using the blower and the dampers to control the airflow and using the injector to make sure there was adequate water inside the boiler. With the weather being less than perfect for a day like this, we were reminded that the roof above our head wasn't actually part of a cab. Rather, it was a sun shield to provide shade to the crews when the locomotive was working in the hot sun. When it rains, however, with no sides, the rain just comes in and you end up almost as wet as if it didn't have a lid at all. And no, your eyes don't deceive you, that was indeed the Plymouth heading past operating scheduled trains. It was nice to see it out and about and actually doing something rather than just being the shunter. The joy of having double track and passing other trains is something unique on the narrow gauge to Statfold, and it's amazing.
Green now, bring back. And he would just
We were slowing down because ahead of us were these two. Oglin and Marshlin, the two Avensides, had left before us, and although they were on a separate railway, running on the low level, and we on Saccharine were on the high level, the two lines converged at the balloon loop, which meant that the low level train had to come to a halt in the platform for us to run round the loop and go round them. The high level didn't stop. Meanwhile, Alpha, who we passed earlier, had completed its journey and was being turned at Statfold Junction, ready for its next duty. Back on Saccharine, we were about to enter the balloon loop.
I'm enjoying myself so much. Those two look so nice together. They do. They will be cool going up there. Yes.
As we left the loop and rejoined the high level, the Avensides could pull out of the platform, and once they were clear, the waiting train that we were passing would be able to pull into the platform. Here we see the O&K Max and Alpha. This was the exciting part and what I'd been keeping the fire roaring for, charging up the bank into Oak Tree.
That sounds delicious. I've seen number one out before.
That's Graham's favourite engine, I think.
Oh, yeah?
It's Graham's favourite engine. It's a lovely thing.
Yeah.
We had to wait in the loop here, and that meant that the Avensides had a chance to catch us and to overtake. were waiting for the Galloping Goose. There were 2 services running on the high level, and this was the passing point. We would exchange tokens now. The token that the Goose had would be given to us, and that would give us permission to travel on the next section of the line, and we would give our token to them so they could travel towards the balloon loop. It is such a weird looking little machine. Meanwhile, we'd pulled forward into the platform and had taken water. Obviously, with a steam locomotive, it's imperative to keep an eye on how much water you have in the tanks and ensure that it never runs too low, or worse, runs dry. Having been sat for some time, my role was to make sure that fire was still burning well enough to get us up the next bank.
Right, we're ready.
Yes, boss.
Handbrakes off. Clear on this side.
The Avonsides had departed a few moments earlier and thus had a head start on us, for what was about to happen was one of the most unique and exciting things about the Statfold Barn Railway, and that, of course, is the joy of parallel running. At the top of the bank, we had the signal and the Avonsides did not, so we pulled away ready to attack the last bank into the high level platform. Upon arrival, my immediate concern was to tend to the water and to my fire. We would be leaving again soon, although we'd be on the back and so we wouldn't have to be working. And moments later the Avonsides arrived, surrendering their token and pulled into the platform. At the other end of the line, the service was just leaving for its return trip. Also running today out on the 18-inch gauge was Jack. Now I've never actually seen this run, so I was thrilled to see it out and about and back in ticket. Also running was Victoria over on the brand new Mease Valley Light Railway, a locomotive that I had the honour of doing one of its first trips here at the Statfold Barn Railway. So if you want to watch that video, it's in the top of the screen now. And the passengers riding behind it were amongst the first that this 16-year-old steam engine has ever pulled. Returning to the 2-foot, my cameraman decided he wanted to ride behind Harrogate. And I too was on the move, although I didn't have to do much. We were being dragged backwards, so I just had to maintain my water, make sure the fire didn't go out, and make sure the engine didn't blow off. Top and tailing allows for a much quicker and slicker operation on the high level. My cameraman and Harrogate had been held to allow us to go around the balloon loop first. And with us out of the way, Harrogate was able to enter the balloon loop and begin its return trip. It was what had been following us, however, that was the most exciting. Roger, normally confined to the Garden Railway, was out on a triple header. With all eyes on the triple header, Harrogate had made its way back to the top of the line. Heading down was one of my favourite locomotives, the Corpay, with its absolutely bonkers motion. And as my cameraman had got off to film the triple header at the balloon loop, this was going to be his ride back home. Whilst all this had been going on, we'd been waiting for the Goose to do the token exchange, and they brought the token to us. The token always travels on the rearmost locomotive, and so as we were at the back, that meant that we were in charge of the token, and having shown it to the driver of the lead locomotive, we were ready to go.
Yeah, there's some chickens on the roof.
Oh yes.
Which meant it was time for more parallel running.
You know she's right there.
Might be able to have a conversation to there. Yeah. Hello.
And this was basically how it would pan out for the rest of the day. That'll do. So, it is the end of the day here, and I have just filled up the boiler of this, so I've got just over 3/4 of the water in the gauge, so we can isolate that, isolate that, isolate that, and isolate that. I've had a look at my fire, that's all dying and fine, there's no clinker in it, which means I'm done. Isolated, we'll leave it here, and now it's somebody else's problem to sort out tomorrow. And that is how you dispose of a steam engine at the end of the day, just like that. Lots of railways have different ways, and as we're up here, it's just been shut it down, make sure the fire's gone out, it's fairly full of water, and we're done. So I hope you've enjoyed this day, seeing a bit of what it's like for the prep, the footplate, and just generally enjoying the day. I've had super great fun, and I can't wait for the next one. So if you have enjoyed this, coming up on the screen now are a couple of other similar videos shot here at the Statfold barn, and with that, I'm going to go home. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. And remember, I'll be here again in April for the Model Railway event. So we'll see you then. Ta-ra!